Hi, welcome back to channel TrainStation 2. Alright, really happy to share if you got first in this first competition of building a city. So, how are you doing in the first competition? I hope you did well as well. Of course, the key strategy to winning competitions is really to start late. Many of you have been asking how late is possible. Always the same answer from the developer would always be there's a minimal of 36 hours playing time, otherwise you won't be qualified. So in other words, if it's a 3 days competition, you would basically, the latest you can start is 35 hours plus. Whereas if it's a 2 days competition, the latest you can start is probably 11 hours plus, just before the end of the 12 hour or so. So in generally, that's how you work. But of course, along the way, you need to, of course, do a few things in order to win competitions. One, of course, is we all know that it's time. Consistently, you got to make sure you got to play the game every hourly by setting so-called time to do it, and of course you got to prepare items in order, especially those event items in the event factory around the clock. What you can do, or what I would do, is basically I'll set aside like 1 or 2 trains just to fill up the inventory, whereas the rest of the trains will do the dispatch. So that is one way when you know that your inventory of supplies of the items are running low. So what do I mean is basically, at the start of the competition, you'll be having a full warehouse, a full factory with input and output tray all full, right? So in that context, the first few rounds, there's no need to do that. You can send all your trains out to do the dispatch. But after probably 2 or 3 rounds of dispatches, your inventory that you have prepared up front will run low. So of course, if you keep sending, there's no way you have sufficient items to send. And if you only wait until the time whereby you start building items when there's a requirement, you'll be losing out. So what you could do is, if you really want to, if you have 9 trains, send out 7 for dispatch, hold back 2 to do like almost like half an hour or 1 hour of replenish raw materials to kick off the building process in the factory. That's one way of doing. Alternatively, what I will do is really use all the 9 trains to stock up of items, and then eventually, before you send out the 9 trains. The only problem with that approach is, of course, a small warehouse, which I have. If you have a large warehouse, that would be the most ideal, so that you no need to consistently be playing the game. You can send out all your 9 trains, collect materials, build them, and then send out again before you do your final dispatch, so that you can all end at the same time. But because of my small warehouse, or if you have a small warehouse just like me, the only way to do it is because you need to send out 7 trains dispatch to clear the items from the warehouse, so you can bring in more raw materials by holding back the 2 trains. So that's one way of resource management if we're using a small warehouse. Okay. The other thing about getting an additional dispatcher is, of course, that will cost you 25 gems. That's one way. Of course, every 6 hourly there will be a part-time dispatcher, which you can watch a video to get it free. That will allow you to use him for 1 hour. How best you use that additional part-time dispatcher? I would urge you to only use that part-time dispatcher, which I'm going to have an active one in a couple of seconds. I'm going to show you, is to send out the trains, and then the last train, which is the number 10 train for me, will be sent out later. Why so? Because generally what's going to happen is that once you send out that 9 train, and you know that the last train is the part-time dispatcher, what's going to happen is basically when the time has expired in a way, which is 1 hour, just before the expiry of, let's say, 2 or 3 minutes, make sure you spend that 1 gem to send out the train once more. Alright, what I mean by 1 gem and send out the train once more means you spend 1 gem, like couple of maybe 1.5 minutes or so, or even roughly near to a minute. You can call back the dispatcher, which is your 10th dispatcher, because if you have sent out the 9 dispatchers already, you know that the last one will be the additional part-time dispatcher, and always you can check how much time is left then you can know that will be the last one, just to compare. And that once you have done that, recall that 10 dispatcher using 1 gem, and the the dispatcher will be called back, immediately sent out just before the expiry of the time. You have more than sufficient time because you have 1 minute, right? So you send out this dispatcher, and you have the 10 dispatcher doing a second round of dispatch for you for just worth or cost of 1 gem, right? So that's one way to use your 1 hour part-time dispatcher twice. Okay, that's the only way is really to make sure you send all the 9 dispatcher first before you activate the 10th, and then when the 9 dispatchers comes back, send them all out again, and before you activate using 1 gem to recall back the number 10, and then send out again. Okay, the best way is send out the 9 dispatchers and have, like, let's say, a gap of 5 minutes before you activate by watching the video to call back that one at the 10 part-time dispatcher, because that will have so-called some time to react. Otherwise, you'll be fumbling handling 9 dispatchers. If you do not do that, what's going to happen is that you'll be wasting your 1 gem, because end of the day, the system doesn't recognize that the train you send out is a part-time or a full-time. So that's one really something to watch out. You got to keep on practicing that way. Okay, then once you are done, you will learn it. By spending 1 gem is really worth it. Just had a bit of practice that we'll be doing. Alright, another thing is really in terms of economy of skill. Whether should you be spending that 100 gems in order to get additional dispatcher for 1 week, or 25 gems per day. I want to say that in general context, it's obvious that 100 gems gets you 7 days vis-a-vis 25 gems getting you 1 day. So you get 7 days instead of 4 days. So definitely you'll say that 100 gems is more worth it. Yes, true, that's correct. But if you're like me, whereby we will start late, and if that's the case, actually by starting late, also called the latest, is like wasting about 2 days. So if you use 4 plus 2 is 6 days vis-a-vis 7 days. So and you got to bear in mind, sometimes in certain competitions where you're lucky, your competitors are weak, you may not need that additional dispatcher. So I would say that 100 gems spent, yes, is economy of scale, is well spent, but there will be chance that you only need 25 gems. Alright, so because you just need for that extra day, especially for competitions whereby it lasts about 2 days. Alright, so, and bearing in mind we'll be half day late, so roughly getting a dispatcher for 1 day would be suffice, and that's 25 gems. Okay, so if you worked it out that way, basically there are 6 competitions in total, 3 short ones and 3 long ones. So imagine you only need you only have 100 gems and you want it to last throughout the whole event. It is impossible because it only lasts for 7 days, but your whole event could be easily 2 to 3 weeks. So the only way with people like me, for example, who doesn't really have a lot of gems to go with, you really have to do it that way. What I did just now was I did some calculation. I will not get first if I do not spend some gems. So I have already made the calculations. I spent about 22 gems just now. You are saying that, well, 22 gems is quite a lot. Yes, true, compared to getting additional dispatcher. But at the last moment, sometimes when you do some calculation or when you are stuck. So just now that situation is both calculations of terms of getting the first slot, and at the same time I'm stuck because I would have dispatcher at my disposal and I got nothing to deliver. And I know that by doing that I'm creating a gap of 103 EP. So that's how I will say that in terms of spending gems, you must choose the appropriate timing for spending gems and not every time spend gems to create stuff. Bring back your dispatcher early at an unplanned situation. It must be well spent. Alright, so that's the focus of using gems wisely. So I always emphasize gems is hard to come by. It's just 1 gem per video that you watch occasionally, and that's it. Alright, so there isn't really much opportunity to earn gems. And of course, I did earn 80 gems from the headquarter points gain. Alright, I just spent another about 20 gems or so, because I know at this stage, at this juncture, I need to get first. And I always do this at the last 7 seconds. Okay, you can see there the number 2 guy was doing the same thing at the last 10 seconds, but the accurate timing is last 7 seconds. Okay, so that's how you work out. Alright, thank you for watching. Do like and subscribe. Goodbye.